Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Lizzy Curtis Designs. It's Kath here and I'm here to show you our new acrylic template and just demonstrate how we cut the fabric with it and what it's useful for. So this is called, I'm hoping you can see it on this black background, it's called the Easy Half Rectangle Triangle Template, made of really good quality, able to use your rotary cutter to cut around, and it's really good quality acrylic, so it's going to last you a lifetime with a little bit of love and care. So it looks like any other normal rectangle, and of course it is a rectangle. But you will possibly notice that we have two dashed lines going through the diagonals. So they go right through the centre and down to the corners. Especially made though to take into account seam allowances, so you'll get perfect points with this. And we have a diagonal with an A letter in it and a diagonal with a B letter in it. So if we take the A diagonal line, and we follow it up and across the top and down, that's the shape triangle we would get. And if we take the B diagonal line, we get the same shape triangle, but it's in a different orientation. And that's very important, particularly for our Blue Beauty quilt that has recently been released and was actually the inspiration for making the template. So I'm just going to show you how to use it. When you buy the template, there is a leaflet inside with a free pattern, and the leaflet gives you cutting instructions, but I thought we'd do this little video just to give that some sort of confirmation for you as to what to do. So I'm going to take away my black background and I'm going to show you what we do first, and we'll have another look at the template as I use it. Okay, so underneath I have my cutting mat, and what I've done to start with is, and the instructions are on the leaflet, as I say, is to cut widths of fabric. So I've cut it along the width of the fabric, so would be from selvage to selvage, but I've had small pieces of fabric here and I've used some of them. Now there are two of these templates. There's this smaller one and there's a larger one to make two different size blocks. I'm only going to demonstrate the smaller one today, but it's exactly the same principles and techniques with the larger one, it's just a different size. The leaflet will tell you how wide to cut your strip, and we want to cut the strip a sort of width of fabric, and we want two different colours because we're getting a rectangle that's got two triangles in it, one of the light and one of the dark, and both triangles when together make up the rectangle as you see here. So that's the first thing I did, was to cut my strips of fabric. And then what we need to do with our strips of fabric is to subcut those into smaller rectangles, if you like. So I'll just show you what that means. So let me pick my size. It does say on the leaflet, as I've said, and the leaflet is in with your templates when you get them. So we're dealing with pieces this size, so we're cutting several from the darker and several from the light. Doesn't matter how many. When you cut the width of fabric, you can subcut the whole of that strip into separate pieces this size, or bigger if you're using the other template. So we land up with a pile of light ones and a pile of darker ones, or even a pile of one colour and a pile of another, depending on what your fabric choices are. And then what we'll do next then is to alternate light and dark, light and dark, no, dark and light, dark and light, dark, etc, etc. Just chosen this many because this is the diagram on the leaflet so that you can see it. And we're going to sew each one together, so right sides together, and we're going to sew them together. I didn't need to do two, but I did. So let's have a look at this one. So we've sewn 5 rectangles together, the width of the strip by the subcut that we cut them with. Okay, and then what we've done is to press the seams open at the back so that they're nice and flat, and it makes it very easy to use your template. Now, I mentioned a little earlier about the A diagonal and the B diagonal, so it really depends on what orientation you want for your half rectangle triangle. On the Blue Beauty quilt we used both, so I'm going to show you how to do both on some projects that are coming in the future, and there are other projects in the pipeline for using this template as well, so that's really exciting. We might only use one or the other, but there again we might use both. Okay, so I'm going to set it towards you, and the first time we're going to use, just because it comes first in the alphabet, we're going to use the A line, and we're going to set that dotted line. Let me just show you again on the black background. There's our dotted line, and we're going to set that on the seam. So the dotted line here goes on this seam here, all right, which is why we've ironed the seam allowances open, or the seam open. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hold on to our template, bring in our rotary cutter, and we're going to cut around the template. So here is where your rotating cutting mat will come into play, and we're just going round the sides of the template, easy peasy. And of course I haven't cut hard enough, or pressed hard enough should I say, and there we have the exact size of that template, and you may be able to see that diagonal line, I'm sorry about the lights, but I have to have them on or you wouldn't see anything. That diagonal line is right on the seam, and we have the perfect half rectangle triangle. So then what we need to do is we need to cut another one, we need to cut several of the same one. So again, we want the A, and if I were you I would cut all A's out of this strip, and then we'll cut some B's out of the other strip, just because it means less waste. So we're going to go with our dotted line or dashed line on that seam, take our rotary cutter, cut right to the ends, turn your mat around, and cut all the way around. You can take those little edges off with the scissors if you haven't quite caught them. It's only because the fabric is thicker there. Okay, so we have 2. We're going to carry on. So find your A line, pop the dashed line on the seam, and cut. Let's take those out of the way for a second before they end up on the floor. And so there we've got our A rectangle triangles, and they're pretty gorgeous, and they're so easy with this template. So now we've got exactly the same arrangement. We've sewn our blocks together, our pieces together, down the long edges. We've opened up those seams and given it all a good press. And now we're going to take the template and turn it round so you can see that we have the diagonal B dotted line, and we're going to put that on to the seam. This is where I have to turn it a little bit to start with. So make sure you get it nice and accurate on that seam, nice and straight, and then you'll get perfect half rectangle triangles every time. The rotating cutting mat for this is really fantastic. So there we have 1B. And I'll show you that compared with the A's in just a second. And then we take the B again, so it's B at the bottom, and it's this diagonal line. And we're going to pop that on. So center it so that your acrylic template is just off the edge there and just off the edge there, or inside the edge, should I say. But it will fit really snugly if you follow the size guidelines on that leaflet. So then cutting all the way around again, and that template is so sturdy, it's really lovely. And then we have two exactly the same, and I'll just show you that one more time. So we've got our seam, we've got our B dotted line, and we're going to match those two up. Put your template in the middle so that you've got enough off the top and the bottom. And cut. And the last bit, for all our waste pieces on the side there. And let me bring in that black background again, because then we can compare what we've got. It's actually starting to get a bit messy now, but that's because I've been cutting. So here's our template turned around to face you. I'm sorry, it's all finger marks now, I've been using it. So the A is that way, so that's our A. And if we go according to the light, that's the light fabric, that would be a B. No, it would be an A. There we go. There's the light fabric. I'm confusing myself now. And then this one is the opposite way around. So this time if we go light, the B is that way. Okay, so these are opposite, they are a mirror image of each other, rather than, oh, that's a B, that's an A, because I'm doing it upside down, that's an A. Okay, so if you were to turn those over even, they wouldn't be the same, it would go upside down. So it just means that there's no turning over of a template. It's not a triangle that you need to turn over. It's a proper rectangle that gives you really accurate, which is important obviously in patchwork, accurate half rectangle triangles. And it's even got a little demonstration diagram on the bottom where it shows you how to cut with your diagonal line through rectangles of fabric. So it's ingenious and it's a life changer when you're doing half rectangle triangles and you're trying to get them orientated correctly. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope that it makes it slightly easier for you. So have a read of the leaflet, follow the diagrams and follow the video, and you're away. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.